and I wanted to wait for it to go on. But yeah, nah, man, I'm all good. I had been because I remember some of the times we had been talking. I was oh, we already got people in the chat waiting. What's good? What's going on? We got 2039. Okay, yeah, no, we got it in the army time and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, I did the I timed it. You know what I'm saying, so that people could come in. I'm getting a little more sophisticated.
Oh
But yeah, I
yeah, I
remember.
like that.
Yeah, but I remember one of the times, because over the last several months I've been, just really working on getting the channel to a place where it was, sustainable. And I've been looking for like some jobs and stuff, but now I'm pretty much, I don't think I really need to do that just because, like, it would cost money to get to and from, and stuff's just kind of coming along. And like you
I
can
know
make
that's right.
yeah, and I've been doing like like testing, like doing different online stuff just to make a couple extra dollars here and there. So it's been coming along well. But we got the um we got the membership section
So I like to
officially
hear.
coming on Friday. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
on Friday.
Yeah, so I'm gonna launch it on Friday. It's already accepted by YouTube. We got three tiers: the hero tier, the superhero tier, and the super duper hero tier. You know what I'm saying? So we got three levels, and it comes with different perks. But essentially, what the membership section is going to be about, in addition to people getting early access to stuff, members only content, members only chats, assisting us with all of the production that we have for the programming on this show, who we should interview, what we should talk about, just the different types of ways we can increase the engagement. And then more importantly, we'll be having like meetings to where we can all come together for the super duper heroes. You know what I'm saying? We come together and we plan initiatives in communities. Those initiatives could be working to get handicap ramps put up in communities that maybe are lacking them, or maybe somebody wants to build or fix an animal shelter in their backyard, stuff like that. That's what we're going to be doing with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
It's only going up. Only going up.
But nah, man, how's everything with you though, man? Everything on this
Ev-
end is coming along.
Everything on my end, I'm blessed. I'm blessed, man. Everything is coming along real well, and I'm excited for this and in the future and what we got in store.
Yes, sir. All right, so we back in. We're gonna be talking a little bit about the silent depression, which actually, you look into it. Obviously, everybody knows the depression that happened, throughout the late 20s, throughout the 30s, and it was a very bad time. Unemployment was upwards of like 25%, and just in general. There weren't a lot of protections in place that there are today to kind of help mitigate things a little bit better. But you look at some of the stats and you get to looking at, well, are we really that much better off now? Yeah, we have better technology. We
Hmm.
have access to gigs. We have all types of stuff like that. However, when you compare how much spending power people had in 1930 versus how much they have now, you look at the cost of living and stagnant wages, then you quickly start to see that perhaps we don't really have it that much better off in terms of just generally, um, just the middle class in general. So here's like some stats. Credit card debt is officially over $1 trillion now in the United
Ooh,
States. Officially over $1 trillion.
yeah.
Yes, we making
Ooh,
moves, right? Exactly. We making moves. You know
trillion.
what I'm saying? We
I'm
getting
talking
it.
about.
Yep. And that's from the the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. 50% of people carry credit card debt month to month, up from 39% a year ago. That's from bankrate.com.
Wow.
National National credit card debt. The average credit card debt is $5,733. That's from TransUnion. And 60% of the respondents, from a lending club report that was this year, said that they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow.
Yes. So,
Wow.
and you work in real estate, and so you have
Yeah.
a firsthand look into just the market. So, what are some of the ways that you see people basically just trying to afford access to shelter or afford some type of a home plan? What are some of the biggest challenges that you kind of typically see people running into?
So it's funny you say that because being in the real estate industry and seeing it every day and how it's changed over time. Right now. So um, I'm just gonna give you a little walkthrough of what's been going on the last 2 years or so, whatever the case may be. So around the pandemic time, the housing market surprisingly was hot. It was very hot. Anything you threw up, anything you listed and slapped a can of paint on was going. Multiple offers same day. And where I am, I'm where we are. We're located in Jersey, right outside New York City. So you have to think about it. A lot of people in these apartment complexes, with a huge family with so many other people during COVID, paying an arm and a leg for rent, they realize, hey, I can go and buy in Jersey and, still be close enough where I can do what I need to do. And, we're getting a lot of people coming from New York City because of the pandemic and the prices were high. And the Fed is the one who regulates interest rates for homes. And it's kind of like a balance. The price of the home and the interest rate have to balance out. And so since the prices were so high, people were worried about you can always appraise for a house. Appraisal meaning that, let's say, you were going to lend money to buy a house. Just because you and the seller agree on a price doesn't mean that's what the market agrees. That doesn't mean the bank is going to give you that money. So the appraisal basically comes out and makes sure that the house is worth what the deal is worth. So at the time, everything was appraising for crazy prices. And a lot of people, they got PTSD from the market crash in '08. And so what the Fed does is they regulate interest rates. So since the prices are high, what they did is they raised interest rates. And doing that, their thinking would be that there'd be less buyers on the market to bring down the home prices. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So they would raise interest rates, and we've seen for a while now that the home prices, the market, it wasn't as crazy as it was 2 years ago, but the home prices haven't really gone. We haven't seen the change in home prices as we thought there would be change.
It didn't
And
drive the home prices down.
Yeah, it was supposed to drive the home prices down. So now interest rates are up and home prices are up. So, what's been going on is absolutely crazy. And
is that, just real quick, is that
Mhm.
basically have home prices not gone down because people aren't buying them? Is that pretty much why? Because not as many homes are being purchased. Is that why the prices are high?
So right now, there's the inventory is not a lot. You can't do anything about the inventory, but when the inventory is not a lot and you're going out and you're looking to purchase a home, there's going to be less homes to see. For the seller, there's less competitors.
Oh, he must have been getting a call or something right now. You got a call?
Yeah, I'm back.
It's all good. Andre's Andre busy. Yeah, it's all good. We not in the studio tonight. But you back.
No, it's all good. But now, since there's low inventory, the price is still high. Interest rates are high, so the price of a home now, what you're getting it for, 3 years ago, when you're looking at monthly payments, it's absolutely crazy. And what that does, plus Airbnb, what that's been doing, taking a lot of the homes and putting up for Airbnb, the combination of all that stuff is making rent high. So rent is crazy right now. So
yeah,
combination of all that stuff.
And rent continues to go up too. And I think I got some data pulled up right here actually that just kind of goes a little bit over. Because then actually, let's see, who was it in the chat? Double O. who mentioned he's been putting off. Well, I don't know if Double O, if you're a man, lady, I'm not sure. Can't tell, but he said they've been putting off a dental procedure for 2.5 years because of credit card debt. You know what I'm
Yo,
saying? Like, so these are the types of things that people have to deal with consistently.
now, when we talk about the silent depression, and you bring it back to what happened in the Depression. Now, when I compare the two eras, the one thing that really sticks out to me is the fact that back in during the Great Depression, it was the wealthy people who suffered as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it was so plastered everywhere. That's why it
Mm-hmm.
was such a big deal in the media and everything. You couldn't even go to the banks because the banks didn't have money. The fact
Yeah.
that wealthy people were jumping off bridges, jumping off buildings, wealthy people. So the fact that they were, their funds plummeted, I think that really amplified the times. But now, since there's such a gap, the wealth gap is increasingly increasing at such a rapid rate that they're doing just fine. They're doing better than ever.
Yeah.
That we don't really have that big fear, and everybody's kind of like, it's not. I feel like a lot of people are suffering, but it's not as it's not as common to actually express it, or whatever the case may be. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, and I mean, since the Great Depression as well, I mean, campaign finance laws have changed. Stock buybacks have become legalized again. Ronald Reagan
Yeah,
stock buybacks.
I saw.
Um,
Yep.
the tax code has changed. So pretty much, I mean, since the Depression, the upper echelon of society, including corporate America, has received more and more protections without a doubt. And so here are some stats real quick, just in terms of just the difference between 1930 and now, um, in terms of like just kind of purchasing power and things like that. And a lot of the difference now, obviously, again, we have better technology, better healthcare, stuff like that. But the cost of living has just gone up so much. So we got in 1930, the average annual income of a single American was a little over $4,800 based on the United States internal revenue for that year, accounting for inflation over the years. That number reaches to just less than $85,000 a year today, which is not the average of what people are making. So basically, accounted for inflation, that would be the average person or the average worker making around 85,000 today.
Hmm.
But it says the current average income for a single American is about $56,000. And I mean that's still pretty decent, you know what I'm saying? Because with 56K a year, you can get by pretty decently on that if you don't have kids and if your expenses are pretty low. So again, but that's almost $30,000 less than it would be accounted for inflation. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah,
That's
so
50% more.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
50. And, I got some other statistics for you.
Let's hear it.
Um, so as far as 1930 and 2023, when you compare, the percentage of income, a house in 1930 would be 3% of your income. I mean, monthly. Now it's 8%. Car costs 46% in 1930. Today it's 85%. Rent was 16%. Now it's 42%. So now, if you look at just those numbers percentage wise, um, they were making more and they were getting more bang for their buck.
Hmm. And they had less things. Well, the Roaring Twenties was a very,
The
I mean, a
Roaring
lot like
Twenties,
now. The Roaring Twenties was actually a lot like now in terms of just the culture. And so I was gonna say they didn't have as much to buy, but that's not quite true. When the Depression hit, yeah, but before that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, definitely they didn't. They didn't have as I mean, or rather, in the 20s, part of the culture was spin, 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 spin,
oh,
which is
literally, it was. Black Harlem Renaissance. That was a Harlem
Mhm.
Renaissance era.
Yep. And here's some more stats. In 1930, gas was on average 10 cents per gallon based on an article from Newsweek, which equates to $1.73 now.
That
However,
would
the
be
average
wonderful.
price of gas, wouldn't it be? Yeah, that would be quite wonderful. Now, the average price is $3.55. Now, this kind of is, well, it's kind of off topic, but not really. But in my opinion, I believe that our, because America has been, and I believe it still is, the number one exporter of oil and gas in the world. Like a lot of people don't really, well, political nuts know, but a lot of just general people may not know, because a lot of people say, America's lost its energy independence. No, America has more oil and gas than pretty much every place on earth in terms of like all the land mass. Venezuela, they have the most concentration, and then in the Middle
But
East, yeah. But in terms of just
yeah,
land mass and how much access we have, America has been and continues to be the world's number one exporter of oil and gas. That being said, a lot of the reason why our gas prices are so high, amongst other things, is because the gas companies just feel like charging extra because they can. And so, in my opinion, I think that it would be more efficient if our gas and oil supply was nationalized, so that it was basically just sold and used here. And that would greatly drive down the price. And if it was sold elsewhere, it wouldn't be owned by like private corporations, so it would directly benefit United States citizens a lot more. There's no reason why private companies should own natural resources or
whoa,
water.
time
Water.
out. Whoa, are you talking about the dreaded S word? I think you're talking about the S word.
Oh yeah, so
The dreaded
socialism,
socialism.
just a little bit. You know
So,
what I'm
oh my
saying?
gosh,
Just
that's
a
such
little
a
bit.
tab.
but
Oh
but
my
you know,
gosh,
but I mean, like honestly, that's like,
I'm totally just joking, but
oh yeah,
that would
yeah,
make sense. But
yeah, yeah.
like,
But yeah, like when you really sit back and think about it, you're like, why are these people, why do they get to own natural resources? Like, all that stuff. So, but that's just interesting to think about though.
actually, this is kind of off topic, but it kind of relates to what you were talking about. It's the same thing with pharmaceuticals. Literally the same exact model. The same
Yeah,
exact model with pharmaceuticals. You can get the same drug in another country at a fraction of the price, and they
yeah,
just want to jack up the prices just because they can. They know
just
people
because they
need it,
can.
and corporations own it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's the same thing, and I don't understand why that is not centralized as well. I don't understand um, why your employment equates to your health benefits, and
Oh yeah.
who decided that that dental wasn't part of that? Why you got to have a whole other insurance for dental? Who decided that? And HMO, PPO, what does that even mean? So you're telling me, let's say I've been working for a company for 15 years. I got the same doctor for 15 years.
Hmm.
And then my company changes insurance. Oh, you're no longer in network. What does that even mean? What does that
Hmm.
even mean?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Like you can only go to these. Yo, it's all a game.
And
It's
then
it's all a
and then
game. It's all money.
if you don't have insurance through like your job or something, every year you have to go through the process to buy it and shop it again.
They make you do that on purpose. They
Yep.
make you do that on purpose. But
Yep.
just
And,
it
and
just doesn't.
that adds to the silent depression in terms of like the disparity in the numbers that we see. And we talked about that a little bit a couple minutes ago, about how since the Great Depression, campaign finance laws have changed. It's easier for corporations to give money. It's easier for dark money to go through, political action committees, super political action committees. The Supreme Court did a number of things that made it legal to loan campaigns more money than they did before, which basically is buying more favors than they could before. There was a limit to how much you could give your own campaign money. It was like a $250,000 limit or something like that. They just bumped that up to much higher. Um, so I mean, and it's simple. You feel me? It's like it's incredibly simple. It's like, well, now I can give more money, which means I can buy more favors. You feel me? Like so, it's literally just chipping away to things again, to where it's not even complicated. It's just brazen corruption. Um,
No, not like right in your face. It's not. They're not even low about it. Not like
they don't need to be because it's legal.
Clarence Thomas.
Right. That boy, he
Clarence
was
Thomas.
living it up
What?
for
What?
years
Private jets,
to
everything.
go to go like
Trips.
next door.
Yo,
That dude
yo,
was on a private jet. He went somewhere and came right back off of it.
they were people are literally buying Supreme Court justices.
Literally. You know what I'm saying? So
Literally in
yeah,
their pocket.
yeah.
But
And
I
so
mean,
that continues to eat away at the numbers in terms of stuff that we see like this. So again, that was a bit not it wasn't off topic in terms of like the idea to nationalize this stuff because again a
oh,
lot of the
oh,
inflation we see is because they can just do it. What are
you
you
want to
saying?
talk about you want to talk about nationalizing stuff. This is this. I mean, if we're on topic of all this, you know, attributing to the silent depression and nationalizing stuff, I got to discuss or bring up Muammar Gaddafi and what he did to Libya. For
The
a lot of
gold
people
when
who,
he tried to get off the dollar. You talking about that?
no, I'm not
When
even talking about that. I'm talking about what he did to Libya, what he was able to do with Libya. When he took, when he started becoming, when he got in power in 1970, he was in power for 41 years. Um, before he was in power, the literacy rate of Libya was 25%. Within those 40 years, it bumped up to almost 90%. It was free education. Um, if you wanted to study abroad, anywhere you wanted to go, let's say you wanted to study somewhere else, they would pay for that. Housing was a right. There was no homeless people, zero homeless people. Electricity was free. If you wanted to be a farmer, they would give you your property and give you land and seeds to start and animals that you wanted. Um, he was also uh, he was also there was a project where it's called the Great Man-Made River, and he was basically trying to build water pipes, the biggest irrigation system in the world, to bring free water to every place in Libya. And his goal was to do that and then expand to the rest of Africa. Can you imagine what that would have done?
well, didn't we kill him like when he tried
Oh,
to get off the U.S. dollar? Isn't that when we went in there and killed him?
so think about this. Look at what he's did. Look at what he's did in the
And just
past.
and just real quick, because I mean, obviously, like every form of government has its flaws. The
Oh,
United
absolutely.
States is,
Listen.
yeah.
Every flaws of government has its flaws, but I'm just highlighting some of the
Well,
highlights
what I
of
was
what he
gonna,
did.
yeah, and what I was gonna say is, like what a lot of people point out, and obviously, what American media point out is, oh, he's a dictator, he's a dictator. So obviously, you can criticize that. However, as you pointed out, there's a lot of nuance with things, so you wouldn't necessarily see that in terms of what was going on there and how nationalizing resources can actually be effective. So
And
yeah.
the story is not done. So he all of that. Guess what? They had zero debt, no debt. They were using the resources. The resources was the people's resources. Now here in America, resources are privatized. The fact that we pay for bottled water and we're okay with that. Water is the most abundant thing on this planet, and we pay for bottled water.
Yeah,
Literally,
and that's
think
another
about that.
example of things like why are we paying for water in terms of like as a utility? You know what I'm
And
saying?
when they found out this project, the Great Man-Made River, you can look it up. NATO bombed it. NATO bombed it. And then, as you know, like you were saying, he was trying to centralize the dollar to be completely independent. They were already completely independent. He wanted other nations in Africa to be completely dependent. He was trying to make a currency backed off of the resources that all of Africa can use. And guess what? When you have the resources, you have everything, and that would have completely plummeted the U.S. dollar, the euro, and every other kind of currency. So And there were email, you remember WikiLeaks, and I know I'm getting off topic, but WikiLeaks and Hillary's email. She was actually linked to an email chain where they were talking about how much resources, how much gold and silver that Libya has, and 6 months later he's dead with a NATO-backed coup. And now since Gaddafi died in 2011, Libya is in shambles. There's so many different different ideologies, so many resources, so much looting, so many, everyone wants a piece of the pie, and Libya's been in shambles ever since. But of course, all forms of government has their flaws. But I just wanted to, point out some of the highlights of, centralizing your resources for the people, and some of the positive that's done, and that's a great example.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, and too, again, the nuance in terms of how um, other countries are always painted as like just good or just bad, like and that's always who our allies are, because we all like we call Iran the world sponsor of terror, but Saudi Arabia is like our greatest allies, and they did 9/11. So like it's Iran is not the world sponsor of terror. Saudi is quite worse than them, but
it's but it's just really like a different perspective once you think about it, a different mindset of the people, and and how that can affect the entire nation. No matter what nation it is.
definitely. All right, so let's look at a couple of other stats. At the height of the recession in 1930, a new car cost approximately $860, according to a Newsweek article. Now that number is comparable to $15,000. So I guess a new car, that number today would be like 15K.
Sure,
I wish shit.
cash out. What?
Oh my
What?
God. Yet the average price of a new car purchased from a dealership in 2023 is
$32. 32,000. 48. Okay.
Well, this say 48,000. I
No, that
mean,
was my guess. That was my guess.
that was your
All right, so
guess.
that was my guess.
Okay.
So guess what? That's three times as much.
Right,
15,
exactly.
48.
You was being too nice with your guess.
I
You
was
was
like, at
being
least I was like a little over double. No, a little over triple.
you was giving them too much grace. That's what was going on with that one. And obviously less money's available for other stuff. So I think there's a couple more from this article. In 1930, the average cost of a home was $3,900. This correlates to less than I guess just under 70K today. And now the average cost of an American home for a family is around $416,000. I remember the other day. Well, it was like a couple of weeks ago, but Will, he was he'd be doing sports betting and stuff like that, and he had some dude in his chat who was like, just like he was just some dumb kid who was like trying to flex and be crazy, and like he was talking about how he dropped $400,000 on a house. I'm like, in DC. I'm like, well, okay, you clearly didn't, because if you really knew what was up with the world, you would realize that that's nothing. And you in DC, but it was just an offshoot. It was just funny because in terms of how much this stuff really costs, because like this dude was like, I drive. I mean, he was clearly just like some loser little kid.
He was just yeah.
400,000 on the house. I was like, oh well, you must have a little ass house, brother, because that ain't nothing in DC. But no, that was just that's off topic. But it was just funny. It was just funny. But yeah, so that's pretty much it from there. And then hold up, we got let me see. Let me bring this up real quick. Some student loan debt stats. All of this goes into this.
Oh
you know what I'm saying? Absolutely all of it. We got
it just resumed. It just resumed September 1st.
Yeah, yep, it did. Yep. And it's gonna be a whole lot of people who just ain't paying it. But hey, I don't blame you. Americans own $1.77 trillion in federal and private student loan debt as of the second quarter of this year. That's up 1.25% from the second quarter of 2022, 128 billion point 77 no 128.77 billion dollars of that total through March 31st, 2023 is private student loan debt. And still, like, the job market's set up to where, I mean, there's plenty of opportunities, but I mean, the reality is that if you're not a business owner or an entrepreneur or a successful one, you know what I'm saying? Like, then, like a successful one, then you're gonna need a job. You feel me? Like, I mean, and the reality is, if you don't have a piece of paper behind your name, it's not only that you're not gonna get a good job, but why should you? You know what I'm saying? I understand that as somebody who didn't finish college. I plan to go back. I know what I want to be there for now, but going through the job market, capable, but again, like, you're in your early 20s, mid 20s. Why should people just give you a shot?
Yeah.
Like, why should they? And then even with Politoscope, when Politoscope was up and running, when I hired people, all of them had degrees. All of them had because I don't know these people. You know what I mean? So again, all that to say, in order to access just kind of, just stability, you're going to have to go in debt almost certainly. So it's just it's just such a double-edged sword. There's no perfect way to do anything.
No, you're right.
There's really no perfect path.
And another thing that adds to it is what made me think of it was you talking about that kid in the chat, the social media culture where everybody's rich, that
right.
That also adds to it. Everybody wants to feel important, and everybody wants to have some sort of status, and I feel like that's another difference between 1930, as far as the climate of the people.
It definitely has increased. I mean, opulence has always been a part of the culture, but now it's way more than it was. It's definitely a lot more than it was. And we just looked at the debt, and this is the average cost of colleges. Here we go. This is the average cost right here. So we got
47,000.
Not quite. This time you was too hard. You was too hard on them this time. You did too much this time. You wasn't. Yeah, that's all it is. You wasn't conservative enough. It's $36,436. So it's still a hell of a lot. I mean, bro, like, that's how can you afford that without getting a loan? You know what I'm saying?
And even after that, how could you afford the loan if you're not getting a job that's making a certain amount of money?
Yeah.
Exactly. At the same token, and that's what it all stems from. That inflation always moves faster than income. That's what it all stems from. It was the bubble was bound to pop eventually, and it's not getting any better. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Another 30 years is going to be worse than it is now.
Yeah. And I mean, we can't. Raising the minimum wage is so far away from actually being a part of like a legitimate conversation. Hey, and it's got to be said, Biden just straight up lied about raising the minimum wage. When he was campaigning in 2020, he said that he was going to push for a $15 minimum wage. He got in office and was like,
never heard about it since.
Nah. And they could have did that too, man, because they had the majority when he first got in office. But again, we can't get that discussion in. And then we have this insane Supreme Court that is hell bent on taking everything away. All the 6-week abortion bans. There still hasn't been enough time that's passed since the reversal of Roe v. Wade for us to have access to like metadata. That's going to take 5-10 plus years, but you go on a case by case basis, and you're looking at an increase in unwanted births, which obviously adds to the poverty rate, just making life more difficult. They're rolling back the Environmental Protection Agency's ability to do its job. Meanwhile,
I remember that. That was Trump. I remember that. The EPA no longer protects the environment.
They Even before, one of the last things they did, it was something about doing building near like a river, something like that. It was something about construction close to a body of water that basically opened up the door for more construction to be done near, you know, bodies of fresh water where the water could be poisoned. So it was something along those lines. But even before that, I mean, you would see routinely. I don't remember the guy's name, but the head of the EPA that Trump put in there was a coal lobbyist.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he
Yep.
had, he had glasses.
Was that Rex Tillerson? Rex
He
Tillerson?
was he was Secretary of State, but
Okay.
he
Okay.
was the CEO of ExxonMobil,
I was
which
saying
is
that's
an
the
even
CEO of
more
Exxon.
powerful.
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
the Secretary of
Rex
State.
Tiller.
Honestly, bro, the Secretary of State is like the second most powerful person. Like the vice president really can't do nothing for real unless they're let to do the bro. The Secretary of State basically runs the government.
Yeah.
Like that's essentially what they do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. They
so
really do. You're right.
that's basically what they do. And he put and that was Hillary's job when she was there. But yeah, Rex Tillerson, who was a former CEO of ExxonMobil, ran the government, bro. Like, bro, like you don't think about that, but no, but bro, the Secretary of State is no slouch, bro. Those
Oh
motherfuckers
yeah.
basically run the government, and they're the representation of the United States abroad. Is
Yes.
essentially
Yeah.
what they do.
Yes. Correct.
So, yeah, you had that, and but that's not new either. Um, at every turn you look, it's just the endless chokehold of corporate dollars, which goes into the conversation again of things like term limits. Um, if we don't do anything about the overwhelming flood of corporate dollars in the political process, term limits won't really do much.
That and it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because I want to reverse to what you were talking about. The dictator. We have a person in office, but do they really change anything as far as the grand scheme of things? And they're playing. They're listen. When you're sitting at those tables, you guys are all peers. I might be Republican, you might be Democrat, but we all on the same team. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really, is it really a change, or is it really anything different when they say, well, we have a different president, we have a different person here, but at the end of the day, they're all looking out for their own best interest, which is the best interest of their peers.
The differences are subtle if they're there. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah,
differences
so
are
yeah, no,
yeah. There's
it's all the differences are superficial.
and there are differences in terms of like what can be done. For instance, let's see, the Biden administration, they basically just made it. And one of the biggest problems with the Democrats, they're so bad at letting people know what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like Joe Biden's biggest policy proposal, his big thing that he really wanted to get across was the student loan debt forgiveness. But some of the other stuff that he's done, like the DNC and the corporate media that sides with the Democratic Party, they don't talk about it enough. In my opinion, the best thing that Biden has done, perhaps, is he basically made it a right to unionize in this country.
I didn't
Joe
even know that.
Biden did exactly.
I didn't know
Why?
that.
Exactly, bro. That's a huge deal, bro. Bro,
That's a huge deal.
the Biden
That's a
administration. That's a huge
huge
deal,
deal.
bro. That is that's the biggest thing that's happened to the working class in decades. What he did, what the Biden administration did, is because there's so many different types of tactics to crush unions. In the 70s, I believe the workforce was like 33% of the workforce is unionized. Now it's 6%. You have right to work laws. I'm from Missouri. That's a right to work state. Basically, you know how unions, you have to pay your dues. Right to work is a scheme to defund unions. They basically are like, if if you're in a right to work state, you don't have to pay your union dues, which defunds the union. You know what I'm saying? And you pay your dues, that gives the union money. But then they come in like, I shouldn't have to pay my union dues, and then that dries up their funding. And then also, two corporations can just flat out crush you in your attempts. But what the Biden administration did, if you attempt to unionize and your employer does anything to stop it, you are instantly recognized as a union by the National Board of Labor.
That's actually big. I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but shout out to Joe on that.
But that's
Sleepy
what
Joe.
but that's what I'm saying. Well, two things.
Wow.
One, again, like when stuff like that happens, it's like the Democrats and like MSNBC, CNN are like, why wouldn't you be talking about this? Because again, that gives credence to when Biden says stuff like, I'm the most pro-union president since FDR. You know what I'm saying? Like, it gives credence to that. And under Joe Biden, there's been like an 800,000 job increase in like domestic manufacturing. Donald Trump sent 200,000 manufacturing jobs overseas in terms of no, it was factory jobs. Factory jobs. So those will be the differences. So there are differences. The issue is that there's not enough support for like sweeping changes. You know what I'm saying? So like when the next administration comes in, they can just undo shit.
I would say there's not enough money in it because the politicians are only loyal to where the money is. If there was more money backing more of these changes, then I think it'd be more realistic. But now, if it's working against the best interests of the companies, then it's not going to happen because those are the ones that are funding all these politicians.
Yeah. And that's a lot of why, realistically, the path forward for so many policy proposals is local. Get it through city council, push to make it work in your backyard so they can grow out. Because even if there wasn't so much corruption in the government, all levels, but especially the federal level, even if that corruption wasn't there, bro, the federal government primarily deals with foreign policy. That's primarily what the federal government does. Sure, yeah, it does domestic things, but it really deals with the rest of the world. And the reason is because you got 50 states with thousands of smaller governments underneath those 50 states. So for sweeping changes to happen, it has to go through all those governments. You know what I'm saying? So even without the corruption, that change at a federal level is not going to happen quickly. And I think that often we waste. It's not even that we waste our time. Sure, we waste our time, but we waste our emotional energy getting mad. But we the ones doing it wrong.
Exactly. Yes.
You know what I mean? We the ones doing it wrong. Like we just
120%. People want to act like they care every 4 years, but don't even know who the local councilman is.
And I'm so
councilwoman.
I'm guilty of this too. Like, I mean, I'm still not stable enough to really like. I just live where I live. You feel me?
Yeah.
I got an apartment, but like I'm gonna move after this lease is up. I don't know where I'm gonna move. And I say that to say I'm not really a part of this community, but that's not an excuse. You see what I'm saying? So just to say, like, there's so much that I am not doing, but again, that's a lot of what we're going to be doing in the membership section is coming together as a community to actually push forth for policy change in our backyards. That's what we're going to be doing. Because again, like otherwise, you're kind of just asking for too much. Not that you're asking for too much because like something like a universal healthcare system is far-fetched, because it's not. You're just asking for too many people to be on board with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just personally think that we're not going to see that much opportunity for change at the federal level until 2028, until Biden and Trump is just gone. All these old dinosaur motherfuckers, it's like 80 plus years old. Like, they're just going to be done. They're just going to be done.
And their biggest fear is the newer generation in general, the young folks in general.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, like the a lot of these people, their time is literally up. You feel me? Like they're done. And so I think that gives us a lot of hope. I mean, we're going to have to be patient. Unfortunately, I mean, but it's interesting to see. It's looking like I don't think Biden is going to drop out of the race. I don't think he would do that. Um, the
He
country,
needs to.
yeah, yeah, the country and polling shows. Well, what polling shows is that people really want someone else, but it
Well,
doesn't show that they would rather have Trump than Biden. That's not what it shows.
and
But
it's just so hard. Like it's oh man,
it's too close.
it's just so hard. Like, I'm just so disappointed in the Democrats. Like Hillary, Hillary and Biden are probably the two worst candidates they could have possibly chosen. They
You
could have
said what?
chosen anybody else. I said, I'm just so disappointed in the Democrats. Like in reality, I feel like Biden and Hillary were probably the two worst possible candidates. The two worst. Could have been anyone else. Could have been anybody else.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, I think it's just going to be Biden versus Trump. I don't know who else would come in the race at this point. I mean, Kamala's vice, but she's not very popular either. But at the end of the day, my opinion still hasn't changed. I don't think that Trump will beat Joe Biden just because he's that big of a disaster. Not because people love Joe Biden, but because outside of Republicans and and not just outside of hardcore Republicans,
Yes. Yes.
eh, ain't nobody really feeling the dude. And every
And
week
if you
he's
and if they're not, then they call them rhinos.
yeah. So it's still way too damn close. But I don't think that it's plausible that I mean we still have a full over a year until election day. I think it's ridiculous to think that Donald Trump won't get in 10 times more trouble than he's in now. And the impeachment against Joe Biden the impeachment inquiry against Joe Biden is going to help Joe Biden because it's not going to work. It's not going to succeed. They don't have the votes. So there's a lot going on. But at the end of the day, Joe Biden's only real saving grace is that he's not Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, he's really kingpin. Like he's really that's who he is, and like to the core.
Yeah, yeah,
From Marvel.
yeah. But yeah, man, I think that we just got to keep the fight alive and we got to keep on pushing. The changes that we need in this country aren't complicated. It'll be complicated to roll out, but the ideas and the concepts are simple.
Yeah, very.
Very simple. We don't need a giant middleman in the health insurance industry. We just need some type of way that one source is paying for people's general care. That makes sense. That's not complicated to understand. It's not complicated to understand that our infrastructure is failing horrendously.
I got. Let me tell you a little bit about.
Go ahead.
We have some
go
of the
ahead.
we have some of the worst as far as developing countries. We have some of the worst infrastructures. In general, I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, in Ohio, rural Ohio, there was like a biospill or something, or some pipes bursted. And it really contaminated the water in the area.
But that's happening everywhere.
And so what Barack Obama did when Obama was in office, he put in initiatives to by 20, I think it was like 2023, around 2023, 2024, for new infrastructure to get put in. As soon as Trump got in office, he vetoed it first day. First day gone. But why would we spend money for infrastructure when infrastructure doesn't make us money? Who needs new infrastructure? It's still working, right?
And again,
who cares about the environment? Who cares about people? Who cares about that? It's not making us any money.
So backwards too, because it's not even true. It's just on its face false, because now, because I'll bring this up constantly because it's so relevant. Bruh, Katrina would not have destroyed New Orleans if they would have fixed those levees. For years, they were saying, these damn levees is old. Like we probably should fix them. And like you said, but how much more money does that cost now? I mean, New Orleans is still New Orleans, but it ain't what it was before Katrina swept it up.
It
And
really
then,
wasn't. It's really not.
yeah, there's a Category 5 hurricane in every ocean basin on the planet right now, or at least around the country. In every ocean basin, there's a Category 5 hurricane going on. Every year, weather patterns get worse. Like the climate overall, yes, but just weather patterns get worse. Hurricanes get more intense. Tornado season's worse. There's more wildfires. It's hot than a motherfucker. It's cold when it shouldn't be. Everything's on fire. How much more money is that costing us in repairs? How much more investment do we need now to fix these things? Way more than we would have.
It's not about that though. But
short-term
listen,
gain
you're thinking logically. Why would we think
right.
logically? Logic doesn't make us any money.
Right. Greed and selfishness is what makes us money. Fuck all of y'all, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the essential thing. It's about a whole lot of money for a little bit of people.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, exactly. Unless
if I can do it, you can do it.
And then again, that also goes into some of the the silent depression. How many of these giant corporations literally are not allowed to fail? You know what I'm saying?
Literally,
like bailed out over and over again.
They're not. They've over leveraged themselves purposely, knowing that they over leverage themselves, knowing it might backfire. And when it does backfire, they get government handouts. But that's socialism, right? But it's capitalism for us. It's capitalism for us, but it's socialism for you.
Well, they deserve it, you see, because they the captains of industry, and without them, all this shit would collapse. So that's the difference. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to have them up there, because if they aren't up there, this shit just ain't gonna go.
And then when that happens, now it's about the jobs. All the thousands of people they were gonna lay off. Now they care about the people that they hire.
Right. After they just straight up blew money on some bullshit like they always do. The fucking the airlines that got mad money and still laid people off. All of that contributes to the silent depression, because as you pointed out, one of the best points that you pointed out of the night was the difference between the Great Depression and economic collapses now is the rich are get richer.
They've never been better. But back in the 1930s, it was affecting their pockets. So the climate of everybody was so much different, because the wealthy were getting affected. You couldn't go to your bank. You couldn't get money from the banks. You couldn't get money anywhere. Nobody had money.
That's why Sam Bankman-Fried is in jail, because he ripped off rich people.
That's a freedom fighter, if you ask me.
Free Sam. Free SBF. Get it, bro. We gonna get a shirt made with his fro on it and say Free Sam.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, man. I think but at the end of the day, without a doubt, and I think there was a book called The Silent Depression that was put out in 1993, I believe, if I recall. Because I was looking some stuff up last night, and I think there was a book that was put out about that. So this concept isn't new. People are talking about it a lot right now, but again, it's just resurfacing itself. And the bottom line is, our system of corruption is primarily the reason why we're in this type of situation. Overwhelmingly, there's other reasons, but that's pretty much it. So, you got any closing thoughts? Any closing statements? I think that we had a really good discussion tonight.
I think tonight was a really good discussion. No, it's just the difference is the difference between now and 1930 is who's losing, and I feel like that's really the only difference.
Yep. Well, again, we got the membership programs coming out on Friday. We got 3 tiers: the hero tier, the superhero tier, and the super duper hero tier. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get that out. It's gonna be fun. A whole lot of exclusive access, exclusive content for the members, as well as an opportunity to join us in the production for the programming that we have. Help us make this channel pop and help us make this channel grow. And most importantly, the members are going to be coming together so that we can implement some change in communities right in our backyard. So I'm very excited very excited about that. And other than that, man, check out the Free Gems podcast. All of y'all check that out.
Yes, Free Gems podcast. We just we just dropped another episode today. The Free Gems podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you got. So
yes, sir. And we will be
the Free Gems podcast on Instagram as well. So follow us, and we'll be back and better than ever.
Yep, we'll be back, and we're gonna keep on making everything more sophisticated. I'm gonna chop up this episode, get the clips out, but appreciate you, my brother, again, and I appreciate all of y'all for joining us this evening. We had a very good talk. Appreciate y'all support and encouragement. Y'all have a good night.
I appreciate all you guys, who are commenting, who've been with us this evening. A lot of big things coming.
Yep, yes, sir. All right, y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all tomorrow because I'm gonna be streaming. You catch me there.